The National Portrait Gallery has commissioned a portrait of the Duchess of Cambridge, and I've come to the conservation studio here in order to view it before it's placed in the galleries in its frame. The artist is Paul Emsley, who won the BP Portrait Award here in 2007. And since then, he has painted two other portraits, one of the author V.S. Naipaul and the other of the statesman Nelson Mandela. From an art historical point of view, there are several things to be said about the portrait. First of all, there is Leonardo da Vinci with this very sfumato effect and using the dark background to bring out the facial features of the sitter and a huge amount of detail as well. In the sense of the drawing, Albrecht Dürer, who also used dark backgrounds to form a contrast between the face itself and the mysterious background. And indeed, one of the wonderful aspects of this portrait is the sense of mystery. There is a slight sense of awe, but there is above all a sense of mystery. And that comes very much from the dark background, but also with the hair framing the face in that way that has a kind of kinetic sense of movement about it. And she hovers there. Now, what's interesting about this, which is the first painted image of the Duchess of Cambridge to enter the National Portrait Gallery, is that you are, in fact, looking at somebody who you could quite easily have passed in the street only a few minutes ago as a totally anonymous person. But here she is transformed into somebody significant and important that will play a part in the country's future history. And indeed, other painters will go on and show her more splendidly, I imagine, with those regal and royal attributes that one expects in royal portraiture. You also get the use of the two eyes and the glimpse of the earring there, which are really an exercise in the circular. So there's a lot of rhythm in the portrait. It's very self-contained rhythm. He builds up this surface by layer after layer of very, very thin glazes that are applied over a period of time. It's a very slow, methodical process. And this creates a very ethereal effect, if you like. And the air of mystery that every portrait should have comes about in that way. It is often very easy to accuse an artist like Paul Emsley of doing nothing more in his painting than simulate photography. But there's one essential difference that people should be aware of. In a portrait painting, time never stands still. There has been a dialogue between the artist and the sitter. And the portrait, if it's good like this, should be the result of that dialogue. And what we see here is what Paul Emsley, as the artist, saw in the Duchess of Cambridge, getting to know her through the two sittings that she gave him. And it is that little inner piece of knowledge, psychological import that the artist has brought to the portrait and is giving to us as people who rarely, if ever, meet members of the royal family in this very close, intimate way. It's very direct, it's very straightforward, but tinged with mystery and the possibility of what is in this woman's future.